A peaceful Sunday morning in Michigan turned into horror when a gunman stormed a church, opening fire, setting it ablaze, and leaving behind death, devastation, and questions that still haunt investigators today. What drove him to such destruction? And how could this happen in a house of worship where families gathered to pray? Welcome to America Today. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our in-depth coverage of the biggest stories shaping our world. It was just after 10 in the morning when the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, became the scene of one of the most shocking acts of violence the state has witnessed in years. Witnesses recall the moment a pickup truck rammed straight through the church entrance. Panic rippled through the congregation. Before anyone could make sense of what was happening, the driver stepped out armed with a semi-automatic rifle. He immediately opened fire, targeting worshippers inside, while at the same time igniting a fire that spread with terrifying speed. Within minutes, the sacred space meant for peace and prayer turned into chaos and smoke. Families scrambled to protect their children, some shielding them with their own bodies, others desperately looking for exits. Gunshots echoed through the sanctuary as flames engulfed pews and walls. The shooter seemed determined not only to kill but to destroy the entire church. Police responded in under 10 minutes after multiple frantic 911 calls poured in. Officers arriving at the scene were met with fire, confusion, and the sound of gunfire. They quickly engaged the attacker in a shootout that lasted only a few moments but felt like a lifetime to those trapped inside. The suspect was killed on the spot, bringing an end to the immediate threat but not the suffering he had already caused. By the time the smoke began to clear, at least 4 innocent people were dead, and 8 others were injured. One of them remained in critical condition at a local hospital while the others were treated for various gunshot wounds and burns. Authorities warned that the final toll might rise as rescue teams continued searching the charred remains of the building. Parts of the church had collapsed, complicating efforts to recover bodies and evidence. The gunman was identified as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, a former U.S. Marine who served in Iraq. Sanford had lived in Burton, Michigan, with his wife and son. Neighbors described him as quiet and sometimes helpful, but beneath that surface, investigators believe, lay a troubled man. His background included years of military service, a job as a truck driver, and a family history that showed glimpses of financial and personal struggles. He had once even sought community donations online to cover his child's medical expenses. But nothing in his past could have predicted the scale of violence he unleashed that morning. He not only carried a semi-automatic rifle but also accelerants to set the fire and possible explosive devices found later in the debris. Investigators believe he carefully planned the attack, combining vehicle assault, gunfire, and arson in a coordinated act of destruction. The motive, however, remains elusive. The timing of the attack, just one day after the death of Russell M. Nelson, the president of the LDS Church, has fueled speculation about whether Sanford was targeting the church for religious reasons. Federal agents, including more than 100 FBI personnel, have joined local authorities to comb through his digital footprint, searching for clues in his phone, computer, and online activity. So far, no manifesto, no clear ideological link, and no specific threats have been made public. For now, investigators are calling it an act of targeted violence but have not ruled out terrorism or hate crime motivations. For survivors, the experience is seared into memory. One woman told reporters that she had just stood up to sing when the truck came crashing in. Another man recalled grabbing his grandchildren and running through a side exit as flames rose behind them. First responders described scenes of heroism, congregants who risked their lives to help others, some directing people toward safety even as bullets flew. Michigan's governor, Gretchen Whitmer, called the attack heartbreaking and promised full support for victims and their families. President Donald Trump also condemned the violence, framing it as a targeted attack on Christians and urging stronger action to stop the wave of violence across the nation. Local police and federal agencies immediately increased security around churches and other houses of worship in Michigan, warning that copycat threats could not be ruled out. The LDS Church itself released a statement expressing deep sorrow, offering prayers, and pledging to assist authorities in every way. In nearby towns, interfaith vigils brought hundreds together to mourn, grieve, and pray. Candles were lit, hymns were sung, and tears flowed as people asked the same question: why? The destruction of the church building itself has left the congregation without its sacred space. Officials described the chapel as a total loss, its roof collapsed and interior reduced to ashes. Investigators, forced to wear protective gear as they sift through the wreckage, continue to recover evidence. Every burned pew and twisted beam is a reminder of the tragedy that took place. But the most haunting element remains unanswered: the motive. Why would a Marine veteran, once trusted with the duty to protect, turn his weapon against innocent worshippers? Why combine a vehicle, a gun, and fire in such a brutal way? Investigators are searching for answers, but so far, none have come. This attack joins a growing list of assaults on houses of worship in America: churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples that have all suffered violence in recent years. Experts say these places are soft targets, open by nature and vulnerable to those who wish to inflict harm. This incident, combining multiple tactics, ranks among the most severe. It has reignited debates over security, gun laws, mental health care, and the protection of religious freedoms. For now, the people of Grand Blanc Township are left to mourn, rebuild, and try to heal. Vigils continue every night, with songs, prayers, and candles shining in the darkness. Survivors cling to one another, grieving families demand answers, and the wider faith community unites in solidarity. The human toll is heavy, the scars permanent, but resilience remains. As investigators search for motive and meaning, the story of the Michigan church attack is one of sorrow, bravery, and unanswered questions. 4 lives have been lost, families shattered, and a congregation displaced. Yet out of tragedy comes a reminder of community, of the courage shown by ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, and of the urgent need to confront violence wherever it emerges. This story is still developing, and we will continue to bring you updates as investigators release more details about the suspect, the victims, and the search for answers. Thank you for watching America Today. If you found this report important, please subscribe, share this video, and help us reach more people with stories that matter. Stay safe, stay aware, and as always, we'll keep you informed.